Before we get any further, this video contains spoilers for The Bad Batch Season 2, Episodes 7 and 8. If you haven't seen them yet, we highly recommend you head on over to Disney Plus and watch them before continuing with the video. If you're all caught up, or just don't care, let's dive right in. As many fans are already stoked about, this week's two-parter felt like a return to the Clone Wars. Not to the big fight scenes, but to the political intrigue that took place in the Republic Senate. The Clone Wars did an amazing job of depicting the labyrinth of politics and how self-interest frequently trumps the good of the masses, and The Bad Batch clearly picked up right where the Clone Wars left off. Episodes 7 and 8 gave us a thrilling political struggle, complete with treachery, subversion of truth, and the control of lesser-known senators. We even had some returning characters to cheer for, including Bail Organa and Senator Rio Chuchi. Too bad it was all pointless in the end. In this video, we'll be talking about Senator Chuchi's honest intentions and how they meant nothing in an Imperial Senate controlled by Emperor Palpatine. Fans of the Clone Wars may remember Senator Rio Chuchi of Pantora as the gentle, soft-spoken senator. Due to how timid she was, she really didn't stand out much, especially compared to her two contemporaries, Padme Amidala and Mon Mothma, who were far more outspoken. Her first significant appearance came when Pantora, the moonworld she represented, requested aid from the Grand Army of the Republic. Her people wanted to establish a base on Auto Plutonia to prevent attacks by the CIS. When the base the GAR had set up ceased communications, Chuchi traveled to Auto Plutonia alongside two Jedi, a squadron of clones led by Captain Rex, and Chairman Cho, the political leader of Pantora. While in the company of the chairman, Chuchi was unable to speak her mind. Being as timid as she was, she allowed herself to be used by Cho to command the Jedi through her senatorial authority. Cho had known all along that the planet was inhabited, and he sought to wipe the Tals out and claim the planet for Pantora. Chuchi had been powerless to stop him. She and the Jedi managed to contact the Speaker of the Assembly on Pantora to have him dismissed and grant her authority to negotiate with the Tals. Cho, however, left her with some words to consider. "Senator, I'm willing to fight and die for my people. It's time to ask yourself if you're brave enough to do the same." Evidently, these words struck a chord deep within her. When we saw her later in the series, she was far more vocal in the Senate in demanding the Republic support Pantora and sanction the Trade Federation's blockade around her homeworld. Chuchi evolved as a character from Season 1 to Season 3 of the Clone Wars, and it's no surprise that she's even more confident and self-assured several years later. She may be young, but she's passionate about standing up for what she believes in. To use Chairman Cho's words, she's willing to fight and die for her people. And in the Imperial Senate, those may very well be her only options. A few weeks ago, we spoke about the corruption that spreads through the power structures in fascist governments. The more power the individual holds, the more they're able to use it to serve their own best interests. At the time, we were talking about the Imperial Army and its officers like Admiral Rampart. But the exact same principle applies to the Imperial Senate itself. Don't get us wrong, every government is filled with selfish people who are pursuing politics for their own gain. Even during the time of the Republic, the Senate was corrupt. Many senators were out for their own gain, such as Senators Larrick and Dagonet in Tales of the Jedi. They used their power to amass riches and steal resources from their people. The rise of the Galactic Empire didn't introduce corruption to the Senate, but it allowed it to grow explosively. With the usual democratic checks out of order, any corrupt senator was allowed to act far more freely. The totalitarian policies the Empire was bringing in to control its citizens allowed corrupt leaders to more effectively abuse their people or make illegal deals with undesirables. Corruption breeds corruption, and these people quickly began banding together, like viruses banding together to spread through the Senate's veins. In truth, the Senate was more for show than anything else. In the episode, it was noted that Emperor Palpatine rarely presided over senatorial meetings. Some might have thought it was because he trusted the Senate, but it was more likely because he wanted the honest senators still in their seats to have the illusion of an independent legislative system. The Senate seemed free, but it was held in line through fear. Fear of Palpatine and of each other. Episode 8 in particular gives us a very clear look at what happens when you stepped out of line. The virus of corruption was spreading more and more throughout the Senate, and any senator who spoke out against it was met with a nasty accident. Senator Giorgi, possibly remembering the clones who had once helped defend her on Auto Plutonia, was moved to do the right thing and give representation to those citizens that had none. She was speaking up for what she believed in, and that led her to collide with the interests of others who benefited from the Imperial Defense Recruitment Bill. Her interference was a problem, and for that, her enemies tried to have her assassinated. It wasn't just Senator Giorgi. She, like many others, faced down death every time they spoke up for what was right rather than what was profitable or convenient. Palpatine didn't even need to involve himself directly. The way he had allowed corruption to spread, it was breeding competition and rivalry between the most self-centered prominent figures, and they did his dirty work for him, thinking it was only to their own benefit. Once again, Palpatine was the puppet master behind it all, and these episodes show how in control of every aspect he was, even when he seemed to be absent. Once again, the true mastermind behind it all was Palpatine. It had always been Palpatine. From the very beginning, he had set the galaxy into motion to light the spark of the Separatist crisis, which led to the Clone Wars, which led to the weakening of both the Republic and the CIS. He had masterfully played both sides so that, once he was ready, he would crush the CIS, execute the Jedi, and mold the Republic into the Galactic Empire, which he ruled with an iron fist. Like every totalitarian empire, the Galactic Empire used fear to maintain its rule. It needed a continuous threat to justify its existence, as well as the harsh, merciless policies, the draconian rules, and the state sieges and brutalities. It's no coincidence that Bail Organa delicately mentions the loss of Kamino and the continuous insurgents in the Outer Rim that are so conveniently supporting the need for a conscripted army. These things didn't just happen. Palpatine was behind it all, and even when it didn't look like it, had everything under control. As we learned in this episode, concepts like truth and justice don't matter in a fascist empire. Senators Giorgi and Organa won. They exposed Admiral Rampart for having misappropriated funds from the Kamino project, for orchestrating and lying about the destruction of Kamino at his hands, for genocide of the Kaminoan people, and for pushing a military bill that would only serve to further his career. Without a doubt, they proved his complete guilt, and the Senate cheered as he was exposed. And it accomplished nothing. When all seemed lost for the corrupted faction pushing the bill, Palpatine rose out of the floor like a demon rising out of hell itself. Let's ignore, for a moment, how horrifying that must be for the senators. How unsettling it must be to suddenly realize that the merciless emperor you thought couldn't be bothered to preside over the Senate was never more than a push of a button away, watching, listening, taking notes on those people who spoke and what they said. Let's put that terrifying mental image aside and focus on how, despite what seemed like a surefire victory, Palpatine still won. Seeming the perfect picture of political calm, Palpatine rose into the Senate from his floor dimension and took center stage. He condemned Admiral Rampart for his treachery and dealt him swift and public justice. He gave the senators their scapegoat, but the true message behind it for those who cared to listen was different. Don't get caught, or else. And then, with a masterstroke of genius well prepared in advance, he pointed out that if the clones had truly listened to Rampart's treacherous orders, then they truly did have to be removed from the Imperial Army. They were a risk to the good of the Empire, and thus, the bill Rampart had been pushing for was passed anyway, with resounding supports. It takes a true demagogue to turn a situation as fast as Palpatine did, except it wasn't fast. He had his fail-safes in place, and he made use of them. Chi had good intentions, but in the end, all she did was make things worse. Now the clones would get nothing when they were phased out, left to starve on the streets. In Palpatine's empire, evil slept just fine. It was good that had to sleep with one eye open, and even then, they still woke up with a dagger in their back. What do you make of this two-parter? Are you looking forward to seeing more of Palpatine's 6D chess? Let us know what you're hoping to see next in this series of horrible insights into the Empire's brutality. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.